In this week's client story, I'm going to talk to you about clothing. I had a client who came in and they were asking, I have a shop, I'd like to buy clothes for my staff, what can I buy? Well, I'm going to start by saying that you can buy whatever you would like for your staff and for yourself through the business. The question is whether it will be tax deductible, whether you will get tax relief on the purchases that you've made. And there are some quite strict rules around tax and clothing. In general, it comes down to this. HMRC argue that most people wear clothes anyway. They are not wearing clothes specifically because they have a job. They would look for warmth and decency, and therefore they would put clothes on. Because of this, they say that the clothes are not wholly, necessarily and exclusively required for work, and therefore they restrict you being able to get tax relief on the clothes you buy for staff. Not only this, but if you're buying staff clothes, then this will be treated as part of their income package, i.e. the money that they're receiving in exchange for the work they're doing. And if you're paying them in clothes rather than in money, then you may have to complete a Form P11D to report taxable benefits in kind, where they have received something that's not money and it still needs taxing. So let's go a little bit deeper into the rules. You may have heard that uniforms, for example, are an allowable expense. And yeah, there are cases where uniform is allowable, but it's not simply enough that you want your staff to look uniform. For example, if you said, I want all of my staff to wear a blue top and black trousers, you couldn't buy them a blue top and black trousers and it count as uniform. In order to get tax deduction for uniform, the people wearing it must clearly be, this is HMRC's rule, the people wearing it must be clearly identifiable as working for your business when they are wearing the uniform, even if they are not at your business premises. For example, if you were to see an airline steward or stewardess walking through an airport, you can often identify them quite quickly as working for the airline. The same would be true if you saw them walking through a shop in town. They would be quickly identifiable as working for the airline. And the reason for that is because they would probably have on, let's say, some kind of blazer that is in the airline colours and has the airline logo on it. And they might be wearing some trousers that are in the airline colour and have the airline logo on it. And if they are wearing this, then those items will qualify for tax deduction. However, if underneath these they had a white shirt, if underneath these they had underwear, those items are considered to be required for warmth and decency. They are no longer exclusively for the purpose of your business. They have duality of purpose and the tax relief is restricted. So you can see that even in this case, where you could call the whole thing a uniform, HMRC would like to disagree with you. There's some other cases where they've said no. For example, if you work outside and you want to wear warm clothes, buying a warm jumper so that you can work outside will not create eligibility for tax relief. Another example would be wearing a suit to work, if your job requires you to wear a suit, or if your job required you to wear sportswear. These are requirements of the job, but they are also providing you warmth and decency, and therefore HMRC will say no. Let's go back to our shop, because there's a case where HMRC have looked at a designer brand shop. And there's been an argument made by the staff, well, we have to wear clothes from this shop, we have to wear designer clothes to look the part. Unfortunately, in this case, duality of purpose still exists and tax relief was restricted. However, there may be a case for allowing your staff to buy clothes at a discounted rate so that they can wear them in the shop, and this discount not counting as a taxable benefit. So for the case of my client where he's saying, I'd like to buy my staff clothing, the answer is yes, you can buy them clothing. However, you're very unlikely to get tax relief on what you buy them. I'm going to talk to you about a few examples where it would be allowable. Now, this is when there is a health and safety requirement for you to protect your employees. For example, an example that I've seen is a chemical plant buys outer rubber protection for their staff. This outer layer of rubber is designed to stop the chemicals going on their skin, and therefore that is an allowable expense. Underneath this, the staff wear normal clothes, let's say a t-shirt, trousers, underwear. They're required to leave the t-shirt and trousers at work by their employer. However, these are still giving a duality of purpose, and therefore there is no allowance for tax relief on the t-shirt and trousers, and indeed the underwear. This gives you a clear example of how even in a health and safety situation, you still don't get the tax relief on everything. Finally, my client asked me, am I able to buy clothes for myself? And this is something we see quite a lot with self-employed people and with company directors, where they want to buy clothes for themselves through the business. Well, if it's a no-go for your staff, it's more than certainly a no-go for you, I'm afraid. The same rules apply. What you're buying must be required for protection or as a uniform. If it's not meeting these conditions, you're incredibly unlikely to get tax relief. I'm going to finish with one bit of good news, and this is around cleaning. If you have clothing that you need to clean, there is an allowance for certain industries to get some tax relief on the cost of running their washing machine. The example I'm going to give you is NHS staff. If you work for the NHS, you're able to claim tax relief on up to £185. This allows you tax relief on running your washing machine to keep your clothing ready for use. So this is one tiny opportunity for some people. Sadly, in the case of my shop client, there is no allowance here. And I've had to say to him, buy what you want, but it will be taxed.